Imagine spending 6 years building something beautiful in a city that adored you. Imagine giving everything, your arm, your bat, your body, your soul, to a team that could never quite match what you brought to it. Imagine being the most talented player on the planet and watching your prime years slip by on a losing roster, season after season, while the city outside your stadium still packed the stands just to watch you. Now imagine leaving. Now imagine coming back. That is exactly what happened in Anaheim. And nobody, not the fans, not the cameras, not even the men standing in the opposing dugout, was ready for how it would feel. Because when Shohei Ohtani walked back onto that Angel Stadium field in Dodger blue, something in the air shifted. Something that had been quietly grieving for over a year suddenly came rushing back to life. The crowd didn't just cheer. They erupted. And the men in the Angels dugout, his former teammates, now his opponents, now wearing the titles of manager and coaches, they felt it too. Some of them couldn't hide it. Some of them didn't even try. This is the story of the most emotional homecoming baseball has seen in years. This is the story of the night Anaheim got its hero back, even if only for 9 innings. To truly feel the weight of this moment, you have to go back to the beginning. Shohei Ohtani arrived in Anaheim in 2018 as the most hyped international signing in baseball history. Every team in the league wanted him. He chose the Angels. And from the very first day he put on that red jersey with the halo on the helmet, he made it clear that the hype wasn't just hype. He was the real thing. In his very first season, he hit 10 home runs and struck out batters as a starting pitcher, something that simply had not been done in the modern era of baseball. Scouts didn't have a category for him. Analytics departments built entirely new models just to evaluate what he was doing. Fans packed Angel Stadium not knowing whether they'd see a 100 miles per hour fastball or a 450-foot home run, and somehow, on many nights, they saw both. Season after season, Ohtani did the impossible. He won the AL MVP award in 2021 with numbers so absurd that voters ran out of comparisons. He won it again. He threw shutout innings and then walked to the plate in the same game. He set records that hadn't been touched since the 1920s. He became the first true two-way superstar since Babe Ruth, and many argued he was better. But through all of it, every MVP trophy, every record, every jaw-dropping moment, the Angels gave him losing seasons. The team around him was never good enough. Injuries ravaged the roster. Playoff baseball remained a dream. And yet Ohtani never complained publicly. He never demanded a trade. He never sulked in the dugout or gave half effort because the team was out of contention. He showed up every single day and gave Anaheim everything he had. That is why, when he finally left for the Dodgers after the 2023 season, signing the richest contract in professional sports history at 10 years and $700 million, the grief in Anaheim was real. This wasn't just losing a star player. This was losing the heartbeat of the franchise. This was losing the reason most people were watching. And the city knew it. When MLB released the 2024 schedule and fans saw it, Dodgers at Angels, social media in Southern California lost its mind. Within hours, the game was the most talked about regular season matchup in the entire league. Ticket prices spiked. Fans who hadn't been to Angel Stadium in years suddenly found reasons to go. People were flying in from other states just to be in that building on that night. Because this wasn't just a game between two California teams. This was a reunion. This was a reckoning. This was the moment everyone in Anaheim had been both dreading and desperately waiting for since the day Ohtani signed with Los Angeles. The question on everyone's lips was the same: how will it feel when he walks back out there? Nobody knew. Not really. You can prepare yourself emotionally for these things and still be completely blindsided when the moment actually arrives. Anaheim was about to find out. The Dodgers arrived at Angel Stadium and the atmosphere was unlike anything the ballpark had felt in years. Fans had been gathering outside since the afternoon, hours before first pitch. Some wore old Angels jerseys with the number 17 still on the back, jerseys they had kept in their closets because throwing them away felt wrong. Some came in Dodger blue to cheer their new hero on the road. Most came simply because they knew this was a moment they would tell people about for the rest of their lives. When Ohtani walked out of the visiting tunnel and onto the field for warm-ups, the reaction was instant. The crowd rose. Not in anger. Not in bitterness. Not with the hostile booing that sometimes greets a star who left for more money. Anaheim rose in something far more complicated and far more human than that. They rose in recognition. In gratitude. In the bittersweet pride of a city watching someone they raised become exactly what they always believed he could be. The cheers started in one corner and rolled through the entire stadium like a wave. By the time the sound reached full volume, every person in that building was on their feet. Ohtani heard it. He looked up. And for just a moment, just a brief, unscripted, completely human moment, he smiled. That smile broke 1,000 hearts and healed them at the same time. But the moment that truly defined this evening didn't happen in front of 50,000 fans. It happened in the handshakes. In the tunnel conversations. In the quiet looks exchanged between men who once shared a locker room and now stood on opposite sides of the field. Because here is what makes this return so uniquely emotional: the men managing and coaching the Angels today are not strangers to Shohei Ohtani. They are his people. They are the teammates who suited up beside him, who flew on the same charter flights, who celebrated his home runs and consoled him after tough losses. They are men who watched Ohtani up close, in the weight room before anyone else arrived, in the cafeteria making choices about his body that most players never even considered, in the film room studying opposing pitchers with a focus that seemed almost obsessive. They saw everything. They know what it cost him to be who he is. And now they were standing across the diamond from him, trying to beat him. The Angels manager, a man who once called Ohtani a teammate, spoke to the media before the game, and the words were careful but the emotion underneath them was not. "He's the best I've ever been around," he said simply. That doesn't change because he's wearing a different uniform. One of the Angels coaches, someone who spent years in the same clubhouse as Ohtani, was even more direct: "You want to win. That's your job. But when you see him warming up over there, part of you just wants to go over and say hey. It's a strange feeling. I won't pretend it isn't. Strange." That word kept coming up. Strange because competing against someone you genuinely love as a person doesn't come with a clear instruction manual. Strange because every time Ohtani stepped into the batter's box, his former teammates in the dugout had to choose between their competitive instincts and 6 years of shared history. Strange because baseball, for one night in Anaheim, felt deeply personal. Outside the stadium and across social media, the reaction from Angels fans told the whole story. I was ready to hate this game. I ended up crying twice before the first pitch. Wore my old Angels Ohtani jersey tonight. Not ashamed. He earned that. My dad took me to my first game just to watch Ohtani pitch back in 2019. Tonight I brought my daughter. Full circle. The way the whole stadium stood up when he came out, nobody planned that. It just happened. That's what real love looks like. And the comment that circulated everywhere, the one that captured the entire evening in the fewest possible words. He's theirs now. But he'll always be ours first. That sentence. That one sentence holds everything. The pride and the pain. The joy and the loss. The understanding that greatness, once it passes through a city, leaves a mark that no contract or uniform change can fully erase. Ohtani passed through Anaheim. He left his mark. And on this night, that mark glowed brighter than anything else in the stadium. Here is what gets lost in the conversation about Ohtani's departure and his Dodgers' success: Anaheim built this. Not entirely. Not alone. Ohtani brought his talent and his work ethic and his extraordinary discipline from Japan. He arrived already great. But the years he spent in Anaheim, the 6 seasons of growth, of learning the major leagues, of adjusting to the longest season in professional sports, of becoming comfortable being the most watched athlete in the world, those years happened here. In this stadium. In this city. Surrounded by the teammates who are now his opponents. The manager standing in that Angels dugout watched Ohtani become Ohtani. The coaches who threw him batting practice and shagged fly balls and sat beside him on late-night flights, they were part of the process. They didn't just witness his rise. They were present for it. So when he walked back in wearing Dodger blue and that World Series ring on his finger, they weren't just seeing a rival. They were seeing their work. Their investment. Their years. Walking back at them in the best possible form. That is a feeling no stat can measure. The final out was recorded. The stadium lights stayed on a little longer than usual, as if the building itself wasn't ready for the night to end. Fans lingered in the aisles. Former teammates exchanged one last look across the diamond before heading to their separate locker rooms. Shohei Ohtani walked off that field and back into the visiting tunnel. The crowd gave him one final roar, not a goodbye, not quite, more like a thank you that had been waiting 14 months to be said out loud. And somewhere in that tunnel, in the quiet between the noise, maybe Ohtani heard it for what it truly was. Not a city mourning a player who left. But a city celebrating a legend who came home, even for just one night, and reminded everyone exactly why they fell in love with baseball in the first place. Anaheim went wild. The hero came back. And for 9 innings under those California lights, it felt like nothing had ever changed at all.